feel free to stand and join in if you know the song. And in, I'll breathe in peace.
Good afternoon, and welcome to First Parish in Brookline on this festive and historic day. First Parish was founded 302 years ago, and today we install our 16th settled minister. For most of those 3 centuries, our ministers were men. In the last couple decades, women have served here as interim ministers, interns, assistant minister, and co-minister. Today's ceremony affirms that we are officially celebrating our shared ministry with our first female solo senior minister. Nursery and childcare are available during the service. The children are gathering in Pierce Hall, and the nursery is located on the lower level at the end of the hall. Children and parents should feel free to come and go as you need during the service. After the service, please join us at the reception, which will be through this door in Lion Chapel. Welcome to all. We're so glad that you're here with us.
Good afternoon. It's my joy and honor to lead us in an opening prayer. And as I was thinking about this moment, it was particularly difficult because there's been so much spiritual hurt this past week in so many levels. From abuse revelations and mishandlings in the Southern Catholic tradition to the Special General Conference of the United Methodist Church, where the full welcome of all persons with dignity and worth was at stake and rejected. National and international news remind us daily that human dignity is constantly under threat and that those who work for justice pay the highest price for their solidarity with the oppressed and impoverished. So in thinking about an opening prayer for today, I stood before hopelessness. I couldn't think of grand statements to make or claims that would envelop all of time, considering the time that precedes this moment of celebration is so fraught with hurt, injustice, and yes, some hopelessness. But that's just it, right? We don't have to make grand, all-encompassing claims of blessing and joy. What moments like today's celebration of the installation of Reverend Lisa Perry Wood as your pastor gift us with is precisely that, a moment. One moment. Not a whole litany of times when we have failed as human beings, or when others have failed to acknowledge our humanity, or when our own churches or our own governments decide not to honor our sacred work. One moment. That is all we have today. And that is what we are called to celebrate, this moment. So, can we be radically present in this one moment? Yeah? Yes. Can we envelop ourselves, this place, and Reverend Perry Wood in this one moment with our joy, our intentionality, our commitment, and our sacred work? Yes. If we can, this will be a good thing. So let us raise together a simple and humble prayer for this one moment. How good it is to be gathered in this moment. We are people gathered to celebrate the installation of Reverend Lisa Perry Wood as senior pastor of First Parish, Brookline. We lift this moment up as a hopeful moment, a beautiful moment, a righteous moment, a blessed moment. Spirit of peace, holiness, truth, blessing, light, beauty, earth, justice, joy. We, the people gathered here in this moment, ask that you greet us, enliven us, energize us, confirm us, inspire us, hold us, so that we may be fully present, fully joyous, fully engaged, fully alive, fully participant of the holy moments we are about to witness. We especially put forth in light our dear sister, Lisa Perry Wood. Bless her this afternoon, that she remembers this date, this people, this moment, as precious, life-giving, joyous. And I ask that people gather to join me in closing this prayer by proclaiming, we declare this moment to be very good. Everyone, we declare this moment to be very good. Amen and amen.
Affiliate Reverend Mary Helen Gunn will join me in lighting the chalice this afternoon. As we light our chalice, symbol of our highest Unitarian Universalist aspirations, we enter the ritual of installing our new minister and rededication as a community to these ideals as expressed by Eric Heller Wagner. Blessed is the fire that burns deep in the soul. It is the flame of the human spirit touched into being by the mystery of life. It is the fire of reason, the fire of compassion, the fire of community, the fire of justice, the fire of faith. It is the fire of love burning deep in the human heart, the divine glow in every life.
I've been asked to bring greetings on behalf of the Unitarian Universalist Association. As a member of the New England Region staff team, I do so by greeting you in the names of my colleagues Willard, Joy, Chanel, Hillary, Karen, David, Joe, and myself. We thank you for this moment. We thank you for your shared ministries here in Brookline. We thank you for being faithful to your values. We thank you for keeping love, justice, and hope alive here in this community and beyond. My friends, I cannot really greet you on behalf of the UUA, however, because I am its employee. You are the association. So I ask everyone who is here, who is a part of the UU congregation that is not First Parish Brookline, to raise your hands. And I invite all those who have done so to stand as you are able in body or spirit and offer a gesture of greeting to the folks here at your sibling congregation in Brookline. Thank you. Finally, it is also my pleasure to introduce, someone who's not actually here. The Reverend Susan Frederick Gray could not be here today, though she was invited, and instead of coming here on her own in person, she has made a recording in which she has a message for you all. So I leave it to her.
Greetings, First Parish in Brookline. I'm Susan Frederick Gray, President of the Unitarian Universalist Association. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person today to celebrate the installation of Reverend Lisa Berrywood, but on behalf of everyone at the UUA and our wider association of congregations, congratulations as you affirm Reverend Lisa as your newly settled minister. Thank you to your community for the ways that your ministry embodies our UU values and mission in powerful and generous ways. Together, I know you all will continue to nurture one another's spirit, to work for justice, and to build beloved community. You know, one thing that's become so clear to me is how much our congregations matter. Their health and vitality are absolutely essential. For our congregations, your congregation is where people of all ages experience the life-giving, life-saving, life-affirming ministry of Unitarian Universalism. Our congregations are where our values of justice, equity, and compassion are embodied and come to life. And this is so needed because right now, our congregations are increasingly called to be communities of resilience, courage, and abundant love and compassion. Thank you, Reverend Lisa, for answering the call to ministry. Thank you for answering the call to Unitarian Universalism and to the First Parish in Brookline. And thank you to the congregation, to all of your members and leaders for saying yes to the ministry with Reverend Lisa. May the ministry that you all share and create together be a blessing, not just to both of you, to minister in congregation, but also to the wider community in which you live and serve. Congratulations and many blessings on the ministry ahead.
Hello, First Parish Brookline, Lisa, and colleagues in ministry. It is good to be with you today. My name is Kent French, and I bring you greetings from the United Parish of Brookline, your ecumenical Protestant neighbor over on Harvard Street, where we are American Baptist, United Methodist, and United Church of Christ. It is good to be with you, and an honor to greet you also on behalf of the Brookline Interfaith Clergy Group. When I first came here about 5 years ago, we were a very good and well-meaning study group, primarily of mainline Protestants and Reform-ish Jewish congregations. And I'm happy to say that we're on an upswing right now, where we, for the first time, have Muslims at the table with us and evangelicals at the table with us, and are growing among our rabbis and other religious folks at the table, which is a very exciting place to be. And one of our hopes is to become more of a moral voice in the town of Brookline, where we speak more to the issues of the day, where we have relationships with people who are movers and shakers in this town, because in a time in which we are increasingly divided, we believe we need to focus more on what we have in common as people of faith, of different journeys and different pathways. And how could we possibly do that? Yes, thank you. How could we possibly do that if we didn't have a good, strong, Unitarian Universalist in our midst? Amen. And I'm happy to say that when I first came here, Jim Sherwin, your former minister, was convening us, and I'm happy to say that Lisa has jumped right in, and we have been immediately impressed and gratified by her wisdom of experience, the strength of her character, her commitment to social justice, her deep compassion, and particularly her experience and commitment to racial justice. And so we have been delighted to have her in our midst and to have her representing all of you. And I speak on behalf of all of us in this Interfaith Bridge group to say we bring our blessings and our best hopes and our prayers and intentions to this new relationship as you go forward. Blessings to you all.
From the Boston Immigration Accompaniment and Justice Network, I offer you greetings today. We are living in a world where to answer the call of love may feel difficult, may feel too large. But we now, more than ever, cannot give up. We must work to answer this call to love, whenever and however we are able. Last fall, this congregation worked to raise funds for the Boston Immigration Justice Accompaniment Network Beyond, an organization that is attempting to answer the call of love by seeing those in immigration prison as family. Beyond commits to honoring people's dignity and choices in a system that denies this dignity and choice. As a network, we expect messiness, confusion, and discomfort, and we also choose courage and trust. It is a network that judges the system, not people, fighting for one another as family because we are. Reverend Lisa Perry Wood has worked alongside Beyond to protect this family. The ministry she serves urges us all to consider if we're truly opening up our hearts and homes to those who need them. So let us open our hearts and homes continually, and let us, in our congratulations and blessings to Lisa, act on this love as we never have before. Congratulations and blessings to Reverend Lisa Perry Wood. It is an honor to minister in love next to you.
Well, I'm here to bring greetings on behalf of the Disruptive Education Equity Project and on behalf of Dr. Carnisa Aponte. I'm so glad to be here today to celebrate the installation of Reverend Lisa Perry Wood. Congratulations to you and to First Parish in Brookline. And when I think of this occasion, it brings me back to sand. You know, sand that you see on the beach. You know, if you take sand and you take that sand and you put it in a bucket and you take it home, it's free. If you take that same sand and you put it on some paper and call it sandpaper, you can sell it for $5. If you take that same piece of sand and you put it on a chip, you can put it in a CPU, and now that same sand is worth $1,000. And so it is that the same way with God's call. It's all about what we do with it and how we respond to it. And witnessing how Reverend Lisa and First Parish have responded to God's call, as the dear sister said earlier, it is very good from what we have seen together in these few short months. And indeed, we believe that love, justice, and hope at First Parish in Brookline shall be kept alive. May the Holy One continue to bless and keep you as you move forward in your ministry together. Thank you.
I've been working a really long time. 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 I've been singing a really long time. Been singing a really long time. I've been running by day and praying by night. I gotta get going, it's a hard fight. No. I've been serving my God a long time. I'm not tired yet. I've been serving my God a long time. I'm not tired yet. I've been living a really long time. I'm not tired yet. I've been living for God a long time. I'm not tired yet. I've been praying to God a long time. I'm not tired yet. I've been praying to God a long time. It's an uphill journey, but I'm on my way. I'm not tired yet. Working for justice is all I gotta say. I'm not tired yet. No! 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 I'm not tired yet. No, 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 no! I'm not tired yet. Are you tired? I'm not tired yet. I said I'm not tired. Sometimes I hasten to higher ground. I'm not tired yet. Sometimes I can hardly see my way. I'm not tired yet. So I get on my knees, I begin to pray. I'm not tired yet. No. I'm not tired yet. No, 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 no. I'm running for justice. I'm running for justice. Running for justice. Running for justice. I run by day and I run by night. I just keep on running. I said I keep on running. Lay aside and awaken sin. And I run with patience. The race set before me. Running for justice. Running for justice. I gotta run while the sun is shining. No! No! No, 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 no! Are you tired? Are you tired? I'm not tired yet. I said I'm running for justice, running by grace, running by mercy. Grace is official, mercy endures. I gotta keep on running. I gotta tell somebody. I got a story to tell. No. Are you tired out there? No. No, 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 no. I'm not tired yet. No, no, no. No, no, no. No. Are you tired? I'm not tired. No. I'm not tired yet.
The Messenger by Mary Oliver. My work is loving the world. Here the sunflowers, there the hummingbird, equal seekers of sweetness. Here the quickening yeast, there the blue plums. Here the clam deep in the speckled sand. Are my boots old? Is my coat torn? Am I no longer young and still not yet half perfect? Let me keep my mind on what matters, which is my work, which is mostly standing still and learning to be astonished. The Phoebe, the delphinium, the sheep in the pasture, and the pasture, which is mostly rejoicing, since all ingredients are here, which is gratitude, to be given a mind and a heart and these body clothes, a mouth with which to give shouts of joy to the moth and the wren, to the sleepy dug-up clam, telling them over and over how it is that we live forever.
Greetings today, sisters and brothers, in-betweens and others. Thank you for being here for this occasion of someone who's going to lead us into even greater occasions. For she who has chosen to minister in this time of the ugliness rising, in this time of the rip and the tear, in this moment when hatred and racial despising inhabit the water, the soil, and the air, in this world where the fists keep on yelling, in this land where the guns speak out loud, in this space where civility has chosen surrender, she has chosen to minister now? What is wrong with this woman? This woman who has always heard the ministerial call, heard it like some whisper of distant music growing louder as she neared its source. This woman who, as a child, turned her bedroom into church and preached to stuffed animals. Clearly something is wrong with this woman. She has the audacity to believe that kindness will cure our present malaise and disease. This woman who sings into anger, offers her hand to fang and to claw, walked the eightfold Buddhist path and believed that love should be our law. What is wrong with this woman? This woman who is drawn to wounds, wanders the world looking for a hurt to heal, who has found joy in standing for justice and in locking arms with all who would be a bulwark against all which threatens life. What is wrong with this woman? Her sole religion is compassion. Is in loving what is fractured and failed and flawed. She wishes to make of this earth a heaven and shrink the space between us and God. I mean, she might even say, I may not agree with you, but let me listen. Let me seek to understand. She might ask, may I hold your hand and just sit with you? Or let us walk together and talk in peace and love. She has chosen to be a chalice, to carry that flame of love forward and be a living epistle and a prayer. She is convinced that tenderness is a kind of courage that can defeat darkness, desperation, and despair. She acts as if she has no enemy, as if we all can find something in common. She believes there is hope for this frail humanity. Listen to me when I tell you, there is clearly something wrong with this woman. This world needs what is wrong with this woman. We are oppressed by what is wrong with this woman. So today, let us bless her. Bless her for choosing to minister in a time of floundering faith. Bless her refusal to fester and retreat behind walls. And when the tears come, bless her hands with grace. Bless her eyes for seeing that impending flood as a baptism. Bless her soul for not shutting out the pain of planet or person. Bless her mouth for opening in the face of oppression. Bless her hands in insisting that we sing the choking hand from the throat, the boot from the neck, and the lash from the back. Bless her for how her heart breaks, and for how she will always allow it to break again and again. Bless this woman and everything that is wrong with her. For everything that is wrong with her is a blessing to us all.
One of the blessings of parish ministry is the opportunity to help people in very concrete ways, to be there to listen, and the opportunity to say, when someone says, you know, I have a very real financial need, to say, yes, I think we can help you. Where I administer a minister's discretionary fund, as does Reverend Lisa. Today we're going to take an offering to benefit that discretionary fund. In the last several months, I understand that has done things like supported a local mother buying holiday gifts for her children, supported the Brookline Food Pantry, the Massachusetts Poor People's Campaign, and the Coalition to End Racism in Brookline. Minister's Discretionary Fund is a crucial tool of ministry to be able to say yes. And it's something that we can't do without all of you and all of your support for that ministry. And so I see you digging in your wallets, and I am glad to see you digging in your wallets. And while you dig in your wallets, I also want to tell you that another thing that I learned that taught me perhaps more about the need for funds like this, like the Minister's Discretionary Fund and the Fund for the Living Tradition, is an experience that I had almost 2 years ago today, in which my life almost fell apart. Within a few days, I went from noticing, oh, there's some kind of weird mold on my apartment walls, to looking, saying, like, let me look behind something, and oh my God, there is mold everywhere. I was a new minister living in San Diego, slightly underemployed, and I thought, okay, well, I can make this happen. We'll do something to remediate the mold. 2 days later, as I was in a hotel, there was a freak storm and a flash flood, and my car was flooded up to its door handles in water and totaled. And so within a couple of days, I lost my apartment, my furniture, my car, and all of the stuff in my car. And I called on my friends, I called on my colleagues, and the other thing I did was I called on the Unitarian Universalist Association's Fund for the Living Tradition. And I sent an email and I said, this is what's happened. And a couple of days later, there was a check. And not only did that check do very concrete things, like help me replace my bed and my furniture and my sheets, but more important than that was the feeling that receiving that check gave me of knowing that I was heard and that I was a part of a greater living tradition and that I mattered. And I can tell you story after story of ministers who have been helped by the Living Tradition Fund in relief from what can often be very overwhelming student loan debt, in medical crises, in family crises, and flying out to be with someone who is dying and needs a friend. So I would urge you, as we are here to celebrate this joyous occasion, to remember the many ways in which all of us come to times in our lives when we need help and we need someone to say yes to us. And so I hope that you will say yes by making a very generous donation to our offering today, which will be shared between the First Parish of Brookline Ministers Discretionary Fund and the Unitarian Universalist Fund for the Living Tradition. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Here in reverence now we gather for the blessings we have known, with the pledge to one another that we journey not alone. Joy and sorrow make us wise, kin to all that lives and dies. Love calls us on. Love calls us on.
Words and deeds of those before us, waken here to keep us strong. Blend our voices in the chorus of creation's living song. Us lift our trusted light. Blessed are they whose inward beauty shows the path of truth and right. Honor is their earthly prize. By their work we realize faith calls us on. Faith calls us on. Faith calls us on. Faith calls us on.
We have shared a radiant hour when the truth has made us free, and the Spirit's gracious power dreamed of good that yet shall be. Bright the path before us lies. Joyful pilgrims now we rise. Life calls us on.
Life calls us on.
Life calls us on.
Life calls us on. Life calls us on.
Life calls us on. Life calls us on.
I will begin with a story that may or may not have much to do with this sermon, but it does have a good deal of self-deprecating mirth, and without it, this sermon would be sadly short of mirth, which is never good. This is a story about church life and ministry, and it takes place more than 20 years ago in Bedford, where I serve that first parish, and it has to do with the Christmas Eve service. Christmas Eve, in my experience, is all about joyful anticipation, eager expectation, jangled nerves, the fulfillment of long-awaited desires, and the coming of, some would have it, a Savior. So it's sort of like the installation of a new minister, right? At last, happy days are here again. So I fretted about preparing the perfect Christmas Eve service, and I had the brainstorm that a newcomer to our congregation, a woman who was a recent emigre from the Soviet Union, could tell a lovely Russian Christmas story. And as a bonus, I bought more than 200 fresh white roses to give to everyone. I'm not sure why exactly, but it seemed like a grand gesture. Well, the way it turned out, the Russian emigre had taken up with a man in the parish, and in the course of things, this broke up a long-standing relationship that man had with another woman in the parish, and thus a good many staring daggers. And then the emigre woman's long and rather odd holiday story, reindeer and sleighs and snowdrifts and I don't know what else, began in such a thick Russian accent that I had to stand next to her to translate her English into other people's English. And as for the white roses, as soon as I handed them out, they immediately wilted and turned limp and black, and even though the candles did not catch things on fire and bring the fire department, that was another year, the whole thing was a terrible service. I knew it, and I had no one else to blame but myself, and I hate it when that happens. When eventually the horrible, terrible, no good, very bad service was over, I readied myself to go to a parishioner's house after party where no doubt people would avoid talking with me about the aforesaid shudder-worthy service. But every Christmas Eve at church, I make a large batch of hot chocolate. And that night, I figured I'd take what was left over to the party, and thus I carried a large and heavy percolator urn of hot chocolate, which I carefully carried out the door toward my car, except that it being a wondrously snowy and icy Christmas Eve, I slipped on the brick walk in front of the church, fell soundly on my butt, which allowed me, lying on the pavement, to see a wave of hot chocolate rise from the top of the urn and arc so perfectly that it fell directly on my head and glasses, and the hot, sweet mess matted my hair and soaked my shirt and tie and suit. No wonder that a colleague says that his favorite holiday memory was to see on Christmas Eve the receding image of the church in the rear-view mirror of his car. When welcoming a Savior, know that you're just as likely to land on your butt covered by a hot mess. And this, of course, is also analogous to the installation of a new ministry. I have slipped and fallen, disappointed others, and disappointed myself many, many times in my ministry. Ministers and congregations regularly disappoint one another. Services that fall flat and comedic pratfalls are the least of our downfalls, for we have and do and will let one another down, make mistakes, miss cues, lose opportunities, and sometimes blow it. Churches are in the business of proclaiming hope, and well, that's hard to do when you're not always feeling it. These dark days especially, I ask people, how are you? And I am much more likely to hear expressions of anger and apprehension, fear and dull dyspepsia than I am to hear anybody say, I sure am feeling hopeful. Hopeful for what? Hopeful for tonight's snowstorm? Hopeful for next year's Patriots season? I don't think so. Robert Mueller? Kamala Harris, maybe? The candidate I am supporting is Eugene Debs. Eugene Debs once said, "I would not be a Moses to lead you into the promised land, because if I could lead you into it, somebody else could lead you right out of it as well." This afternoon, I want briefly to reflect on the nature of hope. I think there are implications as relevant to our own personal, private struggles with hopelessness, today's special occasion to keep hope alive between a minister and a congregation, and as well our challenge to be hopeful in the face of, for lack of better words, global illiberalism, authoritarianism, and kleptocracy. In 1915, amidst the despairing mess that was the First World War, Virginia Woolf wrote in her diary, "The future is dark, which is, on the whole, the best thing that the future can be, I think." She's saying that the future is unknown, neither bright nor horrible, and that we ought not confuse the one with the other. We sometimes say we live in unsettled times, but you know, that's a good thing, because if things were settled, well, it's over. It's faded, it's determined and done. When things are still unsettled, we have the opportunity to be hopeful. You know, the act of installing a minister is the culmination of a process known as settling a minister. I am here to say that nothing is settled. Nothing. A settled minister, like a settled congregation, is a minister or a congregation in trouble or possibly dead. Don't settle for anything less than an unsettled minister and an unsettled congregation. Moreover, to live in a dark and unsettled time calls for us to be deliberately, determinedly, willfully hopeful. I'm influenced by a little book titled Hope in the Dark by Rebecca Solnit. In it, she says, "Hope is not like a lottery ticket you can sit on the sofa and clutch, feeling lucky. Hope is an axe you break down doors with in an emergency." We'll come back and talk a bit about emergencies in a minute. Hope, she says, should shove you out the door because it will take everything you have to steer the future away from endless war, from the annihilation of the earth's treasures and the grinding down of the poor and marginal. Hope just means another world might be possible, not promised, not guaranteed. Hope calls for action. Action is impossible without hope. To hope is to give yourself to the future, and that commitment to the future makes the present inhabitable. That's what we all want, isn't it? To make the present inhabitable. And so, here today, I implore all of you to give yourself to the future. One of Solnit's chapters is titled, "Getting the Hell Out of Paradise." And in it, she cautions us not to be duped by notions of either hell or paradise. We are Universalists, and you'll recall that Universalist bells ring to the tune of "No hell, no hell, no hell." So, we're on board with that. Things are hellish enough this side of the grave. But neither should we be duped by notions of paradise. Paradise, Solnit says, is not the place in which you arrive, but the journey toward it. The industrialized world, she says, has tried to approximate paradise in its suburbs. Brookline, was Boston's very first and perhaps America's very first suburb. People would live in Boston and then they would summer in Brookline. Solnit says the industrialized world has tried to approximate paradise in its suburbs with luxe, calm, volupté, cul-de-sacs. And I wish you could see this because she spells these things luxe, L-U-X-E, luxury to the max, calm, C-A-L-M-E, calm to the max, volupté, V-O-L-U-P-T-E, accent, voluptuousness to the maximum, cul-de-sacs, roads to nowhere, cable television and two-car garages, and it has produced a soft ennui that shades over into despair and a decay of the soul, suggesting that paradise is already a gulag. Countless desperate teenagers will tell you so. For paradise does not require of us courage, selflessness, creativity, passion. Paradise is passive, sedative, soulless. As Unitarian Universalists, we are called to soulful lives of courage, selflessness, creativity, and passion. And if we are to live our values, we must get the hell out of paradise. Solnit recalls that the central motif in all of Judeo-Christianity is capital P, paradise, and the capital F, fall. Now, if I were really a creative minister, I'd make a connection between the fall and me falling on my ass on Christmas Eve, but I will leave that up to you. I have learned that there were even some Christian heretics who worshipped Eve because she liberated humanity from paradise. She got humanity the hell out of paradise. And this is called the myth of the fortunate fall. And if you Google that, as I did, you will discover that this myth has been life-saving, salvific to oppressed and marginalized people, political prisoners, and all kinds of gulags. It can be life-saving and hope-inducing to us as well, for it illustrates our good fortune to be banished from the despair of hell as from the delusion of soulless, laid-back paradise. Instead, we are called out into the great, open, windy, muddy, slippery, horrific, beatific, uncertain, unsettled world. Every victory must be temporary or incomplete. One of my predecessors in Bedford was Napoleon W. Lovely. Oh, how lovely to be named Napoleon. Lisa, you could consider changing your name to Napoleon Perry Wood. And that Napoleon said, though our knowledge is incomplete and our truth partial and our love imperfect, we believe that new light is ever waiting to break through individual hearts and minds to enlighten our ways, that there is mutual strength and willing cooperation, and that the bonds of love keep open the gates of freedom. He's talking about hope. Hope as an axe to use in an emergency. Inside that word emergency, remember, is emerge. For it is from an emergency that new things come forth. Make no mistake, there's no emergency on our southern border. But you and I know only too well that we are living in a time of emergency. Last week, I heard an interview with David Wallace Wells, author of a new book, The Uninhabitable Earth, in which he describes hope as a matter of perspective. For example, the common wisdom used to be that a positive outcome of our climate crisis would be, by the end of this century, to hold climate warming to between 0 degrees and 2 degrees. But now it seems certain that we will warm minimally by 2 degrees and quite possibly by 4 degrees. At 2 degrees, there will be a death toll of 150 million people. That's the best case and the most hopeful scenario. At 4 degrees, the impact on sea rise and agriculture and public health is just, well, beyond comprehension. And despite this horror, Wallace Wells remains hopeful because, he says, every fraction means averting some suffering or causing more suffering. And while it's already too late to avert anything south of 2 degrees, it is never too late to change the course of our warming and make lives more prosperous and healthier and safer and more abundant and happier going forward. Every fraction matters, and that is what we are called to exercise. Facing the certainty of 150 million deaths and still staying hopeful, that's a guy who knows how to use hope as an axe to shove you out the door, who knows how to keep the emerge in emergency, a guy who has gotten the hell out of paradise. Now, I don't want to sugarcoat this sermon with too much good news, but there is good news. Every fraction matters. The invention of Viagra, for example. Lisa, you probably didn't know that I was going to get into the invention of Viagra. Viagra is saving endangered species by eliminating the demand for aphrodisiacs made from green turtles, seahorses, geckos, and the velvet from half-grown antlers of caribou. There are wolves again in Yellowstone. Deer, moose, bear, cougars, and coyotes are coming back in droves. Today I had to wait for a half an hour while a pack of wild turkeys got out of the road near my home. In California, there are seeds that lie dormant for decades and germinate only after fire, causing some of the most burned over places to bloom most lavishly. The number of people identifying as Native American in this country has doubled between the 1990 and 2000 census. And I never knew that in 1999, Inuit culture and language in Canada were saved by the creation of the province of Nunavut, 3 times the size of Texas, 10 times the size of Britain, a fifth of all Canada. How many of you knew about Nunavut? Some of you do. We've got a couple of hands there. Clyde now. And while I won't underestimate the danger of their death throes, white supremacy and patriarchy show ample capacity to self-destruct. Well, that is enough good news and bad news. Virginia Woolf said, "The future is dark," which is, on the whole, the best thing the future can be, I think. Welcome to a dark, unsettled ministry with a dark, unsettled congregation. That's a good thing. There's nothing better and perhaps nothing more difficult. May your bonds of love keep open the gates of freedom. Have a nice trip to paradise, and if you get to those pearly gates, get the hell out. We are called out to the great, open, windy, muddy, slippery, horrific, beatific, uncertain, unsettled world. And watch where you step, don't trip on the ice, but when you fall, consider it your good fortune to get up again and again and again. Congratulations, Brookline. Congratulations, Lisa. Can I get an amen? Amen. Onward and upward, so there.
Good afternoon, everyone. We've been sitting a while. Really, we've been sitting for a little over an hour. So I'm going to encourage everybody who is physically comfortable to do so, physically able to do so, to stand right now. We're going to sing together the gospel tune, Hush, and we're going to throw in a couple of surprises that are going to have to keep you on your toes. I hope to see some movement out there, not only because it just gets blood flowing, but it also gets the spirit flowing. So let's let that spirit flow together.
Good afternoon. I'm Michelle David. I'm the chair of the parish board. Welcome to church. Reverend Lisa, join me. With the member of the Ministerial Search Committee and the First Parish Board please come forward. Search committee, please present our minister to be installed.
Representing the congregation of First Parish in Brookline, we enthusiastically present the Reverend Lisa Perry Wood to be installed as senior minister.
In the Unitarian Universalist tradition, congregations choose their ministers and call them to service. At First Parish Brookline, we share the responsibility of ministry in a collaborative relationship of discovery of both self and others in a context of mutuality. We know Lisa well, as both she and this church engage in a time of individual and mutual discernment about her becoming a full-time, called, and settled minister. We went through a rigorous ministerial search process and are pleased she accepted the call to work with us. The First Parish Board stand here representing this congregation, and I asked a member of our church to join me in installing Reverend Lisa officially as our senior minister. Congregation members, please stand as you are willing and able. Reverend Lisa, we have already recognized your calling to the ministry. You have spent long years preparing for ministry, for this time and place, with the members of First Parish in Lexington, First Religious Society in Carlisle, and First Parish in Bedford. You have grown in your calling to this point. Now, on this day, we install you as our minister to live and serve, to learn and love with us. Reverend Lisa, are you ready and willing to undertake the commitment of this ministry?
I am.
Then listen as we make this official. Congregation, please join me in reading these words from the order of service. We, the members of First Parish in Brookline, do hereby install you, Reverend Lisa Perry Wood, as our 16th settled minister, sharing leadership and ministry alongside us. On behalf of the congregation, you will speak the truth in freedom and love, minister unto all people in their joys, their sorrows, celebrate many blessings of life, invite people to experience lives transformed by Spirit and shaped by the pursuit of justice, and help us to be models of change into the world.
With profound gratitude for the many who have come before me, trusting in the strength, grace, and guidance which has called me forth from among us, and with your continuing support, I joyfully take up the ministry of First Parish in Brookline, to which you have called me.
Now that we, the member of First Parish in Brookline, have installed Reverend Lisa Perry Wood, we ask the greater community to stand with us if you are willing and affirm this action. Please read with me. We, the gathered congregations of family and friends and colleagues
as you know, every day this is a congregation of members that bring their gifts in the form of time, treasure, and talent. And in this day, we bring an exchange of gifts in a more intimate and targeted way. We're exchanging gifts in love, gratitude, and belief in each other. So I'm going to first re-welcome Michelle David for the first gift.
This store brings African-American tradition to this ministry. I hope you wear it with joy, and on behalf of First Parish, welcome to our ministry.
And now Zoe, Perry Wood, and Pam.
Thank you. Hello, I am Zoe, Lisa's wife, and this is Evan, one of Lisa's sons, my nephew Justin, his fiancée Lauren, my brother Jack, and his partner Janine. This is a small representation of our rather large, expanding, ever-expanding and interesting family. Lisa, just to tell you a little bit about it, Lisa is one of 5 siblings, and 2 half-siblings, and 2 step-siblings, 3 step-siblings. She has 3 children, one of whom has spawned 3 grandchildren for our enjoyment, specifically. And then there are the 3 children that Lisa and I took in and raised for a period of time. One is now at college, but nevertheless, we are still raising her. There are also numerous extended family. There's an assortment of cousins and aunts here, and there's family here as well in some of these pews. And so if you did not attend Lisa's ordination, well, you missed quite an event. Lisa's children refer to it as the royal wedding. But there were a few pieces of information that Lisa's daughter, Amy, pulled out of archives and shared on that day. And I think it's appropriate for the people of Brookline to know that not only was Lisa's great-great-grandfather, Charles Perkins, a Unitarian minister in Cincinnati, but her grandfather, his grandfather, Samuel Perkins, attended and had a family pew circa 1849 in this very church. So to sum it up, I want to relay a memory of mine. There was a point early in our relationship when Lisa and I sought guidance and direction. We spoke with someone who had an outside view and perhaps some prophetic insight. This person, wiser than I, said to us, "The horse is out of the barn. Just hold on for the ride." I think that advice was directed more toward me than Lisa. Today, I would say, first to the members of the search committee, you chose well in this one. And I say to the good people of Brookline, the horse is out of the barn. If it's anything like my experience, it's going to be a good ride. So this stole, Justin, this stole is a gift with love from Lisa's family to help fully install her in this church. Hold out. It is a representation. It is a representation of this window. This window, which was created by Sarah Whitman, a very talented artist. There's more about that window and all the windows at the website. The stole was made by Amy Concanon, who I think is here today. She and I negotiated together over the design, if you're interested, she takes commissions. So we give this to you as well.
You should show the choir. Okay, so now the gift from the congregation, but before we get to that, are you mathematical? I am. So I was in the pews and I was listening. 16th settled minister in 302 years. So that means there were 15 that came before you. So I did some math in my head, so it's a little rough, but that's an average of about 20.13 years of service. If you take out, interim ministries and whatever else, probably you could round down to 20. So we thank you in advance for that. Step machine going. So, as we say every Sunday, whoever you are, whatever your gifts or abilities may be, however you identify your gender or sexual orientation, wherever your life and faith journey has taken you, you are welcome here. And your congregation wants to make sure that the world knows you are welcome here. So we have commissioned, in addition to our front signage and our side signage, and it's shown here with a 20-year worthy guaranteed 20-year warranty sign that reads, for the people in the choir, Reverend Lisa Perry Wood, Senior Minister. And there's some other details that are going to get worked out with the Building and Grounds Committee, and other signs that will identify service hours and that all are welcome and things like that. But we want to make sure that the world knew you were here and here for a long time. So welcome.
So this may not be traditional, but I have a gift for the congregation, and Keith is going to help me unveil that. And where are we going to put it, Keith? So this is a quartz singing bowl, and it has just a beautiful sound. Keith and I listened to so many different sounds on this website, and we picked the one that we thought would be just right for this congregation, for this sanctuary, for sounding sounds of joy and peace and harmony and love as we make music here together. And I'm going to ask Keith to make the first sound.
These words are for Lisa, but I hope the congregation overhears them. We are vessels, not fountains. We can only give what we are able to receive. Our bodies grow tired, and we refresh them with good food, with exercise, with rest. Our minds grow tired, sometimes confused, and we refresh our minds with study, solitude, instruction. Our hearts grow tired, sometimes despondent, and we renew them with laughter, conversation, the company of friends and loved ones. Sometimes the wise stranger who comes across our path and leaves us with an unforgettable word of encouragement. All these are things we do. Sometimes, however, we get soul tired. And that's the most difficult kind of fatigue to deal with. Because so often, especially for we ministers, we are so immersed in our work, our energetic, positive, life-loving work, that we have no idea how soul tired we are. I've been retired for 20 years, and in looking back, I am astonished at how much the ministry took out of my soul that I had to refresh in return. I'm not sure about that 20 years. But that's Lisa's call and yours. But there is refreshment for the soul. But it's not found in anything we do. It is rather found in what we do not do. In waiting, in silence, in being present to the presence that emerges when we are present. And that's the gift that renews us. I remember at one point, at one of the many points in my ministerial fatigue, a friend once saying to me, "Stop doing. It's all gift, you know." And so that's my word for Lisa. It's all gift.
My dearest First Parish in Brookline. I love this part of the installation because I get this little moment to focus on you, not so much on you. This is your day, and you went through all of that process, all of that red tape, all of the interviews, all of the uncertainty, all of it, and now you have Reverend Lisa. Yeah! I love this. And it's a great honor to be asked to give this charge to you, even though it's a little awkward because I don't know you. But really you did this incredible thing. You trusted your search team that they would bring you this person that would be the best match for who you are and where you're going, but would honor where you've been. These people, with your help and guidance, worked through this unenviable task of interviewing and meditating and praying and waiting. And you trusted them, and as a good colleague and friend of Reverend Lisa's, I can say it's good that you did. Because you got a good one. You trusted them, and hopefully you showered them with your love as well. And then you voted to call Reverend Lisa in the spring. And then in September, your minister arrived, the Reverend Lisa Perry Wood, and it was like the clouds were parting in the sky. This is an amazing meeting. I've never been here before, so. And she walked in, and it was this amazing thing, and that energy and excitement were there, right? But you're not perfect, and neither is she. You see, we Unitarian Universalists ask a lot of our ministers. We ask them to be amazing preachers every week. But have you ever tried coming up with something meaningful to say every week? I mean, think about it. The fact that your Reverend Lisa can do this is truly amazing. And that's not it. She has to get together the rest of the worship service and manage staff. And she's out there in the world declaring what she and we believe, because our world so desperately needs people talking and witnessing and praying for that brokenness. And she's writing and she's reading and she's trying to do best by whatever crisis is happening in the moment. And she's there managing pastoral care, and she's there when someone dies. It's a huge job. And I can tell you that as a new minister in my second year, it's more all-encompassing than I've ever imagined. But here's the thing, First Parish. Can I call you First Parish? That's what you go by. Is it? Okay. So here's the thing, First Parish. Reverend Lisa is not the church. You are. This is what shared ministry is. This is what it looks like. So what does it, so let me tell you, remember when you put that trust in your search committee? That was shared ministry. But how else can you trust each other? How can you trust Reverend Lisa? Because sometimes we have this idea that your minister is supposed to do whatever you want. And I'm here to tell you that you can give up that notion. Because churches are not theaters, despite how good your choir is. Ministers are not therapists. This community, your ministry, is not a product to be consumed. It's a place where you come and you share in it, and sometimes you're uncomfortable, but it's the place where you're transformed. That's why you come here. And that's why you have to trust in Reverend Lisa's leadership, and you have to trust in the leadership and the fact that they won't always do things that you 100% love. But that's okay, because you can love each other anyways. You can love because of that. And it doesn't mean that you accept everything that happens, but that you trust enough to say things directly, and that you won't get exactly what you want always, but you will love anyways, because you believe in what you are trying to do here, trying to build here together. And trust, by the way, this is something that's built. And I believe we spend too much time thinking about whether or not somebody has already earned our trust. And this misses so much of the picture. The person who is actually doing the trusting needs to be making that choice to trust, which is a much harder place to be, but it's the more important choice to make. As Adrienne Marie Brown says in her book, Emergent Strategy, trust the people, then the people become trustworthy. Trust the people, then the people become trustworthy. That goes for Reverend Lisa, but it mostly goes for each other. So this is hard work, this work of loving and trusting each other. And you need to support Reverend Lisa in what she does here, because you're sharing in that ministry that is, she is not the church, you're the church. And you also need to recognize her life, that she's a person with a wife and a family that is much bigger than I even realized. Make sure you understand that as she cares for you, she also needs to care for them. So it's important that you make sure that you're here to care for each other as well. Because there is wonderful work being done here. And I'm truly blown away by everything that I'm hearing this afternoon. And it gives me so much excitement for our faith. And today is that day to celebrate you, First Parish. So as you sung, as you began this service this morning, you sung, "You're not tired yet." But make sure that you're caring for yourselves and each other before you get there. So First Parish, you are officially charged. Let the people say amen. Amen.
I'm honored to be here today and bring blessings to Reverend Lisa and this holy community as a sister in faith. I bring blessings from my own community, Temple Beth Zion, Brooklyn, and Beacon Street, and the Jewish community. I've been coming to First Parish for over 9 years every Christmas, sitting somewhere there. And I've been in other celebrations, weddings, and baby naming, as I've gotten to know this community through some dear friends who are part of this beautiful choir I'm sitting back there. Today I'm here as a rabbi, and I'm here to pray with you and for you as we celebrate the installation of your new minister. I'm here to pray with you and for you as we mark this moment of new beginnings, with renewed relationships, and as you continue bringing forward a life based on the values that you aspire for this community. We live in complicated and very ugly times. And in these times, there is nothing that we need more than to be part of relevant and meaningful communities. In these times, we need communities like First Parish in Brooklyn, with people committed to one another, committed to serve the divine, and live a life of loving kindness. In these times that we are living, we need to come together, people of different faith, knowing that we were all created in the image of God, and that it's our duty to make the world a world of justice, a world of truth, a world filled with love. And I would like to share a traditional Jewish blessing that Reverend Carl Skogel just shared quietly to Lisa. I did not know that. This is it's good, more than better, right? It is a blessing in the book of Numbers in the Torah that the priests offer to their communities. And in the Jewish tradition, parents say to their children every Friday night at the Sabbath table, and I share with my daughters every Friday night. I will offer the blessing in Hebrew. I will translate it in Spanish and English. Que Dios los bendiga y los proteja. Que Dios los ilumine y agracie. Que Dios los favorezca y les dé una vida de paz, bendición y plenitud. May Adonai bless you and protect you. May Adonai show you kindness and be gracious to you. May Adonai bestow favor upon you and grant you peace. And let us all say, Amen.
Dearly beloved, this time in the service has been set aside for congregational blessing, laying on of hands. Mother Ann Lee, founder of the Shakers, said, hands to work, hearts to God. Let us lay our hands on Lisa, affirming this ministry to which she has been called, and bless her heart. So Lisa, here you are, at the top of the center aisle, the center of attention. And would all of you rise in body, rise in spirit now, and turn in place to face the center. And so, will you come join your wife? And let's bring up Evan, do you want to film or do you want to come up and lay hands on your mom? You're going to film? Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Evan's here in spirit, there with the camera. Let's get up Aunt Chauncey. Come on up. And cousins Catherine and Bruce. And Lisa's nephew, Justin, and fiancée Lauren. Brother-in-law Jack, Jack's girlfriend Janine. Come on up. Will you all please come up? And just lay hands on Lisa. And friends Douglas and Paul, Reggie, Lisa, Paul, Lucia. Very good, that's good. Elizabeth and Ned. Would you please come up? And beloved colleagues in the clergy, would you please come up and sort of fill the center aisle? Thank you. And now, members of Brookline, would you come forward? And Lexington. And Carlisle. And Bedford. And all of Lisa's loved ones, all up, all welcome. And now, if you put a hand or hands on the shoulder or the back of the person in front of you, that would be just so lovely so that we can create of our bodies sort of a great wheel. With Lisa at the hub and each of us as spokes of that wheel. It's so lovely, thank you. Love the opening verse of the 12th book of Hebrews. Let us abide for a moment of silence now. Just one sentence from that very first verse. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. We call upon a great cloud of witnesses and invoke Lisa's saints and heroes and mentors and teachers to be here with us in spirit. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., Mahatma Gandhi, Mary Oliver, Viola Liuzzo, Edith Forbes Perkins, Lisa's great-great-grandmother, Mother Teresa, Albert Schweitzer, Eleanor Roosevelt, Anne Frank, Cordy Wood, Lisa's dad, Edna St. Vincent Millay, Andy Wood, Lisa's brother, Jim McKinnon and Sarah Crocker, Lisa's cousins, Susan B. Anthony, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Helen Keller. May their great light continue to shine in Lisa's life with guidance and inspiration as she enters into the ministry of this congregation. And may the love of this great gathered company, which we now convey through our hands, help and heal and hold her on her way. Lisa, bless your heart. And let the people say amen. Amen. I'm going to invite you, my friends, to return to your seats and remain standing as you're willing and able for our closing hymn, the South African freedom song, Siyama.
feeling so full, so much love, so much gratitude, so much joy. Let us take the joyous spirit of this day and let it infuse everything that we do in the world. Let love sustain us and guide us and keep us always. And now, go out into the world and be a blessing to all those you meet and be yourselves blessed. Amen.
Amen.